There we go. We've got audio. Hoping the audio level is all right. Welcome, welcome. And here we are again. It's been a while, and we are coming into a little bit of a weird factor in here. But as per the usual intro, welcome, welcome. It's not a Friday stream, however. It is a dev stream coming in here from Strange Loop Games. My name is Jens, and working as game designer here, and hopefully it'll be a little bit of an enlightening stream coming for you here. So we'll do a little bit of Q&A. We'll run things through a bit. Audio seems to be good. Thank you very much for confirming that. And yeah, so we're going to be talking a little bit about what is coming in addition to Cozy, and tinkering around a little bit. We got some neat little quality of life things for the emotes. We got some new flowers that I am trying to find and make sure that we have available here in the world again, because Unity does not want me to stream, so kind of forced to splice things together a little bit here. But I think we should be good. That was very bright. That was very, very alien. Also, let's fix up the lighting. There we go. Okay. So, lighting seems to be working. How is Spark and Maui? They are zooming around here like crazy right now. Yeah, they're roaming around. They're having a blast at the moment. Let's see if that is loading properly now. So, what have we been up to? We have been working on a lot of different aspects. Tech is progressing quite nicely. Visual's good too. Hey, Giovanni. Yeah, so we have been working on getting some new flowers in, which is our new a new addition to the game in terms of harvestable things that will be adding to decor value when placed in flower pots and whatnot. And it'll be a little bit of a manual interaction for placing them. So you can do a little bit of flower arrangement that we're going to be showing off here. And let me pull up my freaking sheet here. We also have the text. I don't know if I showed that off last time. Maybe I did. I can't remember. It's been way too long. I also somehow broke the scenes as well, so my transitions have broken on the stream. So I got a bit of a stream repairedness to fix as well. But it seems like we are connecting properly, so let's switch over to the screen share. See if that is... Ooh. Okay, two things wrong. One, the camera is not flipped. It should be. Flip horizontal, which moves us over. Okay, that looks Yankee. Just slightly in there. That's probably fine. There we go. We'll do that. And as always, just want to reiterate on it is stuff that is work in progress. Anything may change, can change, could change, and so on. So take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. A lot of things are not in a full complete state either. So you can have some flip over to that guy, and that guy is on the wrong audio output, so we need to change that. Is this one? What am I using? Zeros Gaming. Yeah, there we go. So one of the new things that we are tinkering around a little bit with is general animal behaviors, and kind of a little bit testing around aggressiveness and seeing how it works, what we can do with it, if we want to keep it, and so on. And I know that's been a case of a lot of feelings back and forth. We did try it around a little bit with back in 9.0, 9.1, and we reverted all the hostilities from animals to players because the animals they weren't behaving synchronized enough, and they weren't as optimized enough to make it properly work. So they have kind of extreme behavior right now for testing purposes. But yeah, so kind of testing around visual effects and audio levels and kind of, you know, all of the bits and pieces for it. So it's things in order, and I believe... Ooh, I wonder... Oh yeah, and then we have our first freaking crash as well. Ooh, hang on. Hang on. Maybe. So, the regular client crashed, but Unity is now playing nice. Good things, good things. Yeah, it's a little bit unstable. We're currently in the process of adding some new major, well, a minor but major feature. And it was merged the other day, and I accidentally updated my branch, which I should not have done because, well, it was added the other day and it hasn't gone through proper QA yet. It's a little bit more unstable than usual. Flip over here for the time being. So let's do that, and let's do... Only want to do Unity capture. Yeah, it's a lot of back and forth testing, as you could probably tell with the animal behaviors as is. Can we play nice? Modkit, please load. Do I just want to run a window capture? Yeah, we can do a window capture straight off. Window capture. Select the window. We want to do monitor capture. Do display capture. There we go. That's what I want to grab. And we want to have left one. And then you can see all the glory and adventures that is consistent when you are trying to launch something that is slightly unstable. 3160. 2160. Why is that looking like it's missing half? Oh, it is missing. That doesn't make any sense. Don't know why that is doing that. Transform, edit. Okay, so that's working. Let's flip that over to... Why is that doing... I have no idea why it's doing the things it's doing right now. It is being very, very weird. We want to do window capture. Grab Unity. We want to have Unity. I do apologize for this, but it's been a weird weird case of tech issues on tech issues for me, so that should be it. Pop that down there. That because here. Probably. Edit, reset, there we go. 30. See? There we go. Okay, so we're back. We're back. Okay. Let's see if this is properly rendering things the way I want them to. If anyone has any general questions, played any, will we get an updated roadmap to 1.0 or still too many variables at play? I would probably say there's still a couple of variables that we need to tinker out before we have a finalized set 1.0. A quad bro in chat as well. Apparently, Unity import is working now. So we'll see if it actually connects and works properly. I'm hoping it does. I'm hoping it plays nice. I guess we'll see. As we're playing any other games lately, I have been splurging on advanced tech games lately. So, like Kerbal Space Program, Stationeers, and all of those fancy games that have you do a lot of coding and or other things. I don't know if it's letting me in with Unity. I think we might be stuck with the regular client, which doesn't seem to have the updated scriptable objects. I don't know if Toby pushed the changes or if they're on my branch. Because I could have sworn that this over here, so I can just rummage through. I'm pretty sure that that was the only two changes I had. Nothing else in it that seemed to be. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure we are stuck with the regular client. Means hold that up there. And we do it that way. I love when problems arise on stream. They are amazing. It really expands and broadens the panic. Surrounding all of these problems. And that doesn't work with that server up and running. So we need to close that. Hopefully that didn't cause problems. Yeah, right. Problems always arise during public demos. Yeah, it's crazy. Like it works fine, it works fine, it works fine. Save, close, start the next day to show it off, and bam, everything just breaks. Nothing works. It's really as if it knows. It truly knows that now he's gonna show something cool off, so we're just gonna not let him do that. Have problems with anxiety, but your game keeps bringing me joy and relaxation. Only have 1,000 hours, but hope I'll have many more. Well, we appreciate the fine and very nice comment on that. It's part of why we do what we do. Classic demo situation, right? And then obviously, since we have Quadbro in the chat, Mike, are you fixing the load descriptions of what's happening inside the load? Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Okay, so we're back here. Loading doesn't seem to properly be flying around. There we go. So we're not gonna run and chase because we clearly have some broken plants. So I'm not gonna go too far away from this. Let's do a little playing around here. So we have some in progress testing. Do that. We got some new plants that's currently being polished and tweaked around, which is our rose bush. Adding to the repertoire of fancy flowers that you can get. And of course, I swear to God, Unity just doesn't appreciate us right now. That's crash number 2. Anyone have a counter for this? Because this is slightly annoying. Let's do this, and let's start up the server locally so we don't have to. That we can see if it's the client crashing or if the server crashing. Configs. Don't have a storage edited. That should be fine. And then we'll just run the server locally. Of course, that doesn't work like that. See if that works. That does work. And then I just need to remember passwords and whatnot. Alright, can we start it in offline mode? Is that gonna play nice? It should be fine. Maybe. Yeah, it should be fine. We can do... Let's flip my camera off for a second since it's giant and bright and white. So, if anyone is wondering and haven't seen it before, this is what the tech tree looks like. Beautiful, beautiful spreadsheet. All the good things in it. How goes the Unity update? The Unity update is carrying with it a lot of technical complications that were either not anticipated or turned out to be a little bit more problematic than was expected. So we're getting there, but it's a little bit of a bumpy path to that goal, if that makes sense. Well, actually, no, not that one. Let's do this. Local host. See if I can connect to it. Will it let me connect to an offline server if I hosted it as a dedicated server? Maybe, maybe not. Probably not, which means that's not going to work. I had hopes and dreams. Oh, no, because it's on another. Oh yeah, that doesn't like me. Let's close that up. Open up the flower stream, and you can also see my amazing naming conventions here. Beautiful, beautiful inspiration. Which version are you updating to? In terms of Unity? Unity 6. It's straight out currently what's available. Like right now it is 6.0.39F1. ASD server, yes. I've logged into that one before. Very nice. Unfortunately, we are probably gonna keep running into the repeated issue of Unity crashes because it is slightly unstable. I was not anticipating this. I do apologize. But there's not a lot I can do about it at this stage. I was hoping to be able to not explode too much. To add that there, and I want to add that there, so we save that log so I can see what the hell was causing the crash later. It's giving me some type of dictionary crash. Oh well. So we're temporarily here, right? So we have 3 new flowers. We've got the rose bush, plant, tulip. We have some tulips. That is coming in as well. And as I said, they're still being a little bit polished and kind of tweaked around so we can mesh them up so they look nicely texture color-wise towards the other plants, so they look cohesive. Whatnot. And then, of course, we've got some daisies. So that is our new nice little crops that you'll be able to harvest, seed, plant. So we'll be able to see, you know, larger scale flower farms, if you will. So a little bit more cash crops for farmers. On site, I don't know if these were targetable yet. I think they are. If do can I do plants? What do we have? Let's do a pineapple. Pineapple? Can I not spell pineapple? Thank you. There we go. Don't think they wanted to be that. Yeah, Daisy. Do that. Yeah, there we go. Beautiful little daisy here. As I said, it is very much work in progress. We're tinkering around a little bit with the colorization system, so when you harvest and or when you plant things, it pops out in different colors. And apparently there's some very, very angry wolves over there. But essentially, if you have like a pink version of it, once you have a flower pot, or you know, once you throw it into one, yeah, the wolves are absolutely crazy. You know what? They're gone. All animals, poof. Have them vanish for a little bit at least. Slash give hewn table. Pop that in here. And if anyone has missed it, we are looking at free floating orientation for placements. So building your stores and placing things in general is going to be so much more in-depth in terms of what you can do and what you want to do. And if this actually works, we can do this. There we go. And then we can do this here. We can put it for sale. And, you know, charge $5 for it. And that'll add a little tag on it. Planning a grid snap system or only free placement? We are experimenting with having a snap system as well, so you can get that perfect alignment to placement and everything. Yeah, you know, you can put down a little pineapple here and go... This one's a really pricey pineapple at 500 bucks. Although the icons seem to vanish because it's still, you know, it's still a little bit in progress and tinkering out. I think it might be the orientation that's the problem. And or some recent changes because things are happening kind of at a very fast pace at the moment. Truncating the text? Yeah, that works. Yeah, so can we turn free placement off and snapping on off? It's just snapping to other objects. It's gonna be snapping towards the tile, and we're still kind of looking into how we want to deal with potential grid snapping on other objects. Now, will they list on the market window? Believe that is being done at the moment. So you have the public crafting stations and whatnot. You got the rents and you got repairs. And we're looking at having those trade things pop in here, but I think this might also be a case of I'm not owning them. So they're not currently listed as a object for it. We're just gonna do this. Now we are owning it. There we go. They pop up in the list properly. And then the store is going to be listing the deed that they're placed in rather than a specific, place. You still have the exact distance to the item, but the store declaration is going to be the property itself. So it might be requiring you a little bit of, walking around and finding things. Will paintings be added as well in terms of the free placement? That should be doing it for any and everything that is world sold. We grab like an anvil, plop that down here. We set that for sale. Is that inside on the property? Yeah. Yes, that part isn't entirely done yet, but in essence, everything should be listing things. Can the world object still be snapped to the world grid? Currently not, because it's still being tinkered around. I believe we were... Oh yeah, Mike sorted that out. That's all good. So, if you hold shift, and this is something that we're discussing a little bit internally, so if you do have a preference, let us know. Would you rather have free placement as the default placement mode and you hold a modifying key to change out to, say, snapping? Or would you prefer the other way around? So, the tile placement is still the default mode and then you hold a button to get into free placement mode. Right now, it's set up so free placement is the default and then you hold shift as an example. And you can still rotate it, but it will rotate in grid alignment. If it matters what grid it is for things, then default is snap. Yeah, so the it is straight out just to the regular 5 tile placement. So as you can see here, it's snapping along the border here because it's a world tile system. And then the offset orientation around it is going to be snapping on it. But in essence, so on and so forth. Let us choose it in settings. See, that's a nice thing. That might be something that we can do. So you can set a preference to which of them you would like to be using. But yeah, so for modders, all it takes for a table or whatever to be placeable, you just need to declare a specific surface type for the object in the model. And then in the object script itself, you specify that it has a surface. And then the internal system will just deal with the rest. But you still have to choose the default for the preference. Yeah, I think grid tile setting is probably easier for new people. Could it be a key press as a toggle. Possibly. We'll look at it and see a little bit. It'll probably be something that gets discussed quite heavily when we move everything down to playtesting. Since it's, like I said, it's gonna be, I think it's very much gonna be like the backpack issue. Which means it's gonna be crazy. Is the freeform also applied to building materials? You're thinking actual structures or the raw placement of stuff on the ground? Because in either case, it's blocks work a bit different. So this is only affecting world objects. So if we do give bricks, for example, it's not gonna let me place this stuff really on its own, because the system is only extended to world objects right now and vehicles. So when you're trying to build a building, it's still going to be, you know, a square building. You can't do crazy rotation and angulations. I can already imagine some unsatisfying layout where some people are going to intentionally place everything slightly misaligned. Building stuff yet? No, so for tiles and buildings, it's a little bit trickier. We'll probably investigate and see if it can be done in a clean way. But for now, it's gonna stay pretty rigid to the tile system for structural materials. It can get very crazy otherwise. Because of how building materials are treated. Anywho, galaxy vase. We grab a vase here. See if this actually will this actually work. Yeah. So if I had the editor running, I would be able to show off a little bit more things with the other flowers. Maybe a few rows. It's still just poppy generic flower. Could you sell the vase on a table? Yes. You take that. You pop it down here. And you can sell it just as everything else. Oh. I'm the owner on it. I know the tags worked previously when I was testing it out and something broke it. So it's only allowing one tag to generate at the moment. So yay bugs. But once you have a flower, you can put the flower in the pots or, you know, in the vases. You can only sell on the table. No, you can sell it on the ground as well. It's just it was more of a if you could sell the vase on the table. Right now the collider is a little bit wonky, but you can place a bunch of these. I love when it wants to be very specific. The hitbox is a little bit under temporary control. And I know John was tinkering around with the up and down, like the vertical plane on it. So look at that, a little bit of a flower pot here with some nice little things in it. Give small rough basalt pot, ballast pot. We get a little bit of a smaller pot here instead. Don't think these guys were set up to do it yet. Is the table acting like a linked storage for the storefront? That is something that we are investigating. Because initially, it was added as sort of like a, you know, you can put display items on it. And then we kind of moved over to, you know what, we want to be able to use it as an actual in-world store. And after a bit of discussion, we also came to the conclusion that if we want to have it acting as a store, it would be better if we could have a linked storage component to it. So in this case, which is partially what's being tinkered with here. The system isn't entirely working yet. But in essence, you would access the item that you have representative for sale, and it would behave a little bit like a store unit, like an entry in the store object. So you would access the chests or the inventories that you have, and it would pull from those storages. So the pineapple itself wouldn't be a storage. It would be kind of the access point for linking devices and placement for it, because we didn't want to have like each unit to be a type of container. I figured it's going to be a lot more user-friendly if you simply link the storages that you are used to when it comes to stores. So the entity is essentially a little tiny store, but it's representative of the item type that you'll be selling at that point. Are we going to see wall hooks or mannequins in the future? For dressing up with clothing and so on. It's on the list of wishes and wants to do. I'm not really able to say if, when, how, buts. But it is on the things that we want to add as a way to display and sell clothing. So with this, we are also looking at decorative value for it. So that's on my table at the moment to kind of look over. When you place plants in a vase, you'll get housing points for those items. So it's a little bit weird to kind of compress value for housing. So adding the world object and then interacting with the world object to kind of amplify it, and that effect gives more bonus to the value of the original item. So is that going to make more lag on servers? It depends on the scale of things, and it also depends a little bit on how, if you're using a larger distance for for linked storage access, you might get hit harder with that. But we're also looking at a lot of general optimization gains to kind of offset that. So like I said, it's still being kind of evaluated, and we're still doing scaling up tests to see how much, if potentially we can mitigate any larger impact of performance. But as with anything, if you add, 50 new objects in your apartment, it's gonna get hit some way because you are adding more things to load. I was about to ask about even more housing bonus in the current version. So a couple of things that I've done for balance part in housing is changing out a lot of the modifiers for housing value in general. So the overall value from each room is going to get nuked to kind of smithereens. I am ripping out the multi-room benefits for non-multi-client kind of residents. So if you only have the singular person, you're not gonna get that crazy amount of extra bonus skill gain from having multiple rooms. Essentially, if you're only one person, you don't need 3 kitchens, and so on and so forth. But if you have multiple people, it'll still reduce the penalty for having multiple people. But you're not going to be able to exceed like 250 housing value, and so on. And I'm also tweaking around the experience levels overall. But there is some dramatic changes happening to the general multipliers, as well as the hard caps and the soft caps for the housing as well to offset these changes. So it's probably gonna take a little bit of getting used to and kind of shake up the current min-maxing bits on it. So I would recommend to do a little bit of experimentation once this hits and see what works for you, and how far you can push it, because that is always excitable. I love seeing weird, extreme kind of oddity builds, as well as, you know, of course, the whole kind of this looks like a sensible apartment and this looks like a cozy little house on the prairie or whichever. So I'm hoping that will help people do a little bit more with creativity, and a little bit more with decorations overall, and, you know, coming up with interesting ideas. So on the sales thing, we are familiar with gift store. We're familiar with this guy. The general store access, and apparently memory loading is causing a little bit wonky, so the textures aren't scaled up properly. However, another thing that we're doing as well is we are kind of dissecting this object. So this store, we are breaking it apart, and we're just kind of ripping out and making each individual part a store in terms of the cash register, the scales, and so on. So you can have some stores that might not require rooms at all, potentially having some limitations to them, and then some stores that, you know, requires enclosure. So the store object as is, we're probably going to keep it and hide it as a legacy thing. So any, you know, it's not going to nuke the stores people have on their servers right now. But breaking it apart for new objects, to allow a bit more into that creativity thing. So you can have maybe some scales to do a larger collection of things, and then have some free placement on the table and so on. So you're just utilizing more of the assets in general, at the same time allowing you guys more flexibility and more creativity when setting things up. And then I had... what else did I have here for this particular stream? I had one more little quality of life thing. As we saw, the animal aggressiveness, they be a little bit bitey. So the animals overall is going to be a little bit more responsive to what happens in the environment. We are experimenting whether or not we want to have the animals not attack you in sort of a blunt, wide-scale thing. But if we want to keep the attacks localized to threats, to themselves. So, for example, you're holding a bow. The animals could be attacking you. Hey, Roboto. Welcome, welcome. So we've got, for new plants, we've got daisies. And these guys are going to replace... You are familiar with kind of the sporadic daisies that is just purely decorative in the grass. These guys are going to disappear. And we are going to plaster kind of daisies all over the place instead. So they'll be... You'll have more kind of interactive, more flavor in the environment with these plants. And they're... Because we're moving more into a very kinetic of... This is a plant. This is a piece of grass. If it looks different, it's going to be a different thing. And that's kind of where we're going with it as well. So you're going to have... let me actually pull up an image it is not showable completely, but I do have there we go. So can I copy that link? We can open up that here, separate that out, pop that in here. Let's do that window capture. Can we do capture? Why is the window capture? Oh, yeah, I know where the window capture is not working, because the window capture is above or below it. So, let's do this. Do it. Didn't want to do that. There we go. I think. Nope. That was not. There we go. So for the new plants, or for flowers in general, this is what we are looking at in terms of new items that you'll be able to actually acquire and place down in flower pots. And I realize that they're upside down, but it's a Unity rendition, so bear with me. We're just going with it here. So all of these, some of them you recognize. Like the flax, that's already a thing. The sunflower and everything, taro, and some of the other flowers. However, now all of these items are gonna be actual 3D items that you can place down and kind of tinker with decorations. So a lot of the current flower plants that you harvest and use for either dyes or process into industrial, foods and or other parts. A lot of them are going to have actual droppable items now, so they're not just going to yield an item. They're going to have a 3D item to them, so that you can kind of do tinker and whatnot. And you can probably see that there are a couple here that you recognize. There are a couple here that you might not expect. So one of the things that is going to be making a sneaky reappearance in larger bulk is big blue stems. They're no longer going to yield a whole bunch of plant fibers, because they are going to be a flower weed, if you will. Yeah, the cactus are back. Yeah, they're rummaging around in the background. They are very much zooming back and forth here. So we are adding a bit of fun flower additions, not just the new flowers, but also adding flowers of the different types. And I wonder if I can actually give sunflower. Oh, they're not entirely set up yet. Yeah, so hopefully people will have some fun decorating with flowers, which, not for everyone. However, hope people are gonna enjoy kind of the scenery that it'll generate, because they're also gonna be occupying world space on generation and so on. They're gonna be competing for space. So, you get more flowers, you might get a little bit less food. I am tweaking around a little bit to kind of get them to be showing up where I want them to do. So roses are going to be more prominent around rivers, as well as the wetlands and the cold forest, or the warm forest. Tulips are going to be more towards the taiga and the tundra biomes. You're gonna see them more in colder climates. And the daisies you're kind of gonna see sprinkled all over wherever there's normal grass growing. You're gonna be able to farm and plant them in slightly different biomes than that, but that's kind of where the initial thing is. Are the flowers a harvest or a pick? Then it's a gone thing. if it's a single harvest or if it's a perennial thing. Right now, it's a single thing. I'm contemplating whether or not I want to have the roses as a perennial. But at the moment, they're just single harvest. But yeah, if there's any of them that actually turns into a perennial plant, it would be the roses. But I will let you know. Anywho, as an outro to this, we have our last kind of recent addition for it, which is completely irrelevant to decorations. But yeah, tulips are a bulb as well. That is true. That is true. We'll see. We'll see. With more kind of role-playing thing and more reaction and kind of more emotion in the air in the game, we wanted to help people to get access to the emotes a little bit easier. Now, you can do things like, you know, grabbing the chat, hit like dance, and it'll start dancing, do its thing. But this is a very encumbersome way of dealing with it, so opting for something a little bit easier to get access to, we are adding an emote wheel for this. So you got emotes set up in categories and reasons. You go like angry emotes, and then it'll be populated with emotes related to kind of the angry feeling. And same thing for like facial expressions, where you change out and do well, change out your facial expressions. And this is a very simple kind of left click to open up the category, right click to reverse, and then we have a little bit of everything and anything and everything. Now, with this, we also started looking at really, you couldn't do a building tool wheel, but something like that shit. You're adding a wheel, like what the fuck? The building system, and if it actually, yeah, I think it might still be breaking the tools. The whole building interactive menu, we might opt to do a wheel with, because right now it is very encumbersome. It is it's very, very old. No one has really touched it since the dawn of time. We've been wanting to do and rework it, but we haven't really decided what we wanted out of it. So when we started looking at the emote wheel, or a way to introduce emotes as a call interactive thing, I also started drafting on some things for the building as well. I've been saying that since 3 years. Yeah, but no one has touched the building tool. In terms of like showing up what, how, and where. And now that we're starting to get a ton of block forms, a gecko, it's something that we've been wanting to do, but haven't really had the time or focus on at the moment. So it might be something that we see up for the 1.0 release, kind of redoing a lot of our UI and interactions to kind of make them more cohesive and make them more user-friendly in preparation for that. Which is part of that being the emotes, where we found it way too clunky. So yeah, some quality of life improvements, and we'll keep adding some more of these as we go along towards the 1.0 progress. Will roses make her bleed like my rose bushes in real life do? At the moment, no, but I mean, it wouldn't be too hard to add a little extra calorie drain for walking into them. Add some damage effect of like, this bush is very angry, it's hostile, it'll attack you, it'll take over the planet. Oh, wait, sorry, getting ahead of myself. No, so at the moment they're not doing damage, but it wouldn't be a too difficult thing to do now that the framework for proper damage display and hit indicators are available. But yeah, so that's a little sneaky thing. Now the other part with this, as we started tinkering around a little bit more with emotes, how we want to deal with them, how you can do with them, You are also, see if I remember this properly. So if we do this, see if they are actually set up. I don't remember if they were. So we're tinkering around a little bit with placement, position, animations. So if you're sitting down at an office or whatever else, it's actually playing an animation and so on. And this is also tied into the emote. So once you are in a position of that has an animation emote running combined to it, you can activate it and do run these things, and it'll populate the emote wheel on its own, which means it's gonna have a nice little flow from you sitting down, you being able to do things. And it had some interesting side effects to this regard. Let's do fgive truck. Next level, player contracts Titanus from Roses, right? Because this meant that we could run emotes out of any seated position. Because that whole system is kind of integrated with everything now, and it just works. So you can do things like pop in the dance thing, dig a beat inside a truck, right? And it is pretty extendable, and it just works, right? It just works beautifully. So hopefully that'll add a little bit more flavor and a little bit more depth to the interactions, as well as the kind of atmosphere around it. And I hope a lot of people, a lot of people, and or the majority of you guys are gonna enjoy it. I know a lot of you are super creative when it comes to these things, so I'm pretty excited to see what comes out of all of this. And yeah, so kind of wrap up on the plants. They are going to be farmable in more areas than they spawn as usual. The heat maps is going to be, or the grow maps is going to be a little bit bigger. So roses are more found in wetter, more temperate biomes, versus tulips that are going to be a little bit more dry, a little bit more cold. Daisies are going to be a little bit all over the place, where you find grass and where you kind of expect them to grow. Or the initial spawn of them, and then obviously you're going to be able to plant and harvest them a bit more outside. Can you explain the motivation for the emote additions? If you feel comfortable, can you explain why this is more important to SLG than other stuff that players are wishing for since quite some time? It's a matter of workload for the staff, depending on the areas that they're working on. So the larger bulk of workload that's going into the emote things is mainly just doing the animations and setting them up with triggers and making sure that everything's synced, everything's kind of nice looking. The actual implementation of the emote wheel and everything around it, Mike did very, very quickly, while it was pending kind of reviews and in between other larger parts of improvements. It was kind of squeezed in as it'd be nice if we can have it, how quickly can we make it? Is it just going to be like a couple of days and or a day or two, or how long would it take to actually slap it up? And turns out it went really, really, really fast, because most of the bits were already kind of improved upon earlier. We were just not utilizing it completely. Is this everything in the cozy update or a teaser? So this is just a few of the additions that's going into it. I've got another stream with one of the other big features that's coming, but it just got merged the other day. It hasn't been properly tested. It'll be in another stream, and it'll have an impact on temporary skill gain and experience gain as you're interacting with it. So, you know, keep in the loop on Discord. I'll post up when a new stream is pumping up, and we're definitely gonna do them a little bit more frequent than I think the last one's like 3 months ago. But yeah, so last stream we did, I think I did a bigger overview on a lot of the general decorative objects, so the shelvings, the new storefronts, some of the other objects, and a lot of things. So as one of the main focuses for the cozy update is improving the ambience, improving the general atmosphere. I'm not sure how much it's picking up from the audio, maybe not too much. Being a little bit low, maybe. We pop that ambience volume up. Another big part has been changing out a lot of the audio that we've had. So you have individual, specific, unique audio, ambience audio for different biomes. The cozy update is 1.0, or is this a step before 1.0? Yeah, this is the cozy update, which I don't have a number definition for it yet because it's turning out into a major update. But there is going to be a separate update that is going to be 1.0, which is mainly going to be, you know, kind of final polish and animal husbandry and 1.0 things. That is a separate update, just to kind of clarify that. What we're referring to here being the cozy update is one of the updates prior to this. When is this update coming out? It's hard to tell because we still have a bit of instability from tech updates and upgrades. So I don't have a... I have kind of an estimate in my head, but I'm not gonna share that because I'll get roasted if that doesn't turn out to be the case. So I'm avoiding that. But all I can say is just keep tabs on the Discord. If you haven't joined it, please do. That's kind of where you're gonna find any direct information. You can also, you know, chat in the dev hangout. I respond to things if I can, and when it's kind of relevant. But you know, don't hesitate to ping me if there's any specific to design parts or balance things in there. Right? Don't worry, you can say it. I'll keep it secret. You can trust us. I don't know, man. I don't know. It feels a little bit hesitated. It was just as if it's 6 months or like a year. Like I said, I would like to say it, but at the same time, I also know how these things goes, and you never know. Someone might get sick. Someone, you know, I don't have a grasp on people's vacations as summers and, you know, during the summer and everything else. So hard to me to gauge that. So I'm just gonna kind of leave it hanging. All I can say is keep a tabs on Discord. We'll run into... Once we move it down into staging, we'll do an overhaul on polish and making sure that we squash as much bugs as we can. We'll run playtests. That's a good opportunity once that happens to get proper and more direct feedback on some of these aspects. But yeah, see if we can fly around, getting some of these. Just switching over into the wetlands. I wonder if flying breaks the audio cue trigger. But as you can probably tell, like, we have audio's a little bit more crisp, clean. You have other new ground walking audios. So depending on if it's brush, dirt, gravel, and so on. And then we do time. Can I do dusk? Nope. Do time midnight. But I did nuke out. I did kill all the animals. You have some clean, new, crisp audio for blockage, terrain. You know, you get the picture. That is a lot of cleanup on the audio side, as well as keep improving and updating and polishing the voice stuff, because we've had a lot of issues with that since the recent major update on release. So a lot of that is also being crunched through. I was hoping for some other stuff, but I think I might have broken it with my flight. It should do some of it. Did you correct third zero line crossing bug with voice chat? I believe Mike is looking into it. He's done a crazy amount of bug fixing for that. I believe is still pending release. That should be a hot fix coming out. Soonish, I will say. I don't have an exact date, but it should be popping out soonish, I believe. With a whole bunch of them. But yeah. Hopefully it gave a little bit more flesh to what's happening. And as I said, we're still crunching out crazily on this update and trying to get it out as quickly as possible. As you probably noticed priorly, I kind of broke my transitions as well. They are somehow vanishing. But as for now, like I said, pop in on Discord and keep a tab in there. You will probably see some other news later on in, I don't know, probably a week or two when I have everything kind of tested out and seeing where we are with the feature completion for the next bit that I want to show off. It's something that has been on the roadmap. I can tell you that. It's been something that has been on the roadmap for a while. From the old 1.0, like the initial kind of the big pieces that we want to get done on our way to 1.0. So that is going to be knocked off with the cozy update as well. Yeah, keep tabs on that, and as per me being bad at stream outros, whenever I do pop on the next time, which, like I said, I'll post a notice on that on the Discord. Best place to get information when it is posted and fresh. I'll let you guys know. And until then, I wish you all a continued great weekend, and take care, and good night from me. Catch you later. Goodbye.